Hey folks, this is Balaji, and we are going through Module 3 of Bingeworthy emails. How to create email nurture sequences that your contacts can't wait to open. In this module, we're going to show you how to unpack your framework. So the idea here is to essentially create a stepping stone path to get your prospects, to get your subscriber, your student from point A to point B. We want to move them from the point of feeling pain and frustration to the point of clarity, to the point of resolution, to the point of peace of mind. Keep in mind what we're doing here, we're delivering value to them, we're delivering a small win to them in a complete fashion without selling them our product, okay? So our product likely solves something much larger than what we're taking care of here with this small formula, this small win. But we want to build trust with them. And so, as opposed to some of the so called best practices of recent years in B2B marketing, where you give them a little taste and then you force them to opt in, to give you the email address in exchange for the rest. We're giving away the farm. We're giving away the entire solution for free. Now, this isn't, again, your marquee product. You're solving one of their frustrations, one of their pain points. And here's how we're doing it. So you'll notice, let me explain what you're looking at here, and then we'll step through each of the steps. You'll notice that what I've done here is I've created an acronym. We are marketers after all. So we're not only looking to solve problems, but we're looking to do it in a memorable fashion and in a fashion that's uniquely ours. So I'm showing you a way to create an email course, a mini email course that solves a small problem for your user by creating an acronym out of the solution. And so I've used the word nurture. Ideally, you want to use an acronym that's maybe about 5 letters, 5 steps. It's a bit easier to remember, but the word nurture has a lot of salience and relevance for us here, so we're using the word nurture. All right, so why don't we go ahead and step through the 7 steps? Let me unpack this for you. So the first one is N, notice. You want to notice your ICP. You know, a lot of us marketers talk about ICP, the ideal client profile. It seems like something we all understand intuitively, but I'll be honest with you. Most of us don't go beyond demographics when we're trying to. I have a hard time saying the word demography. I don't know. It's probably has to do with speaking 2 different languages and having to switch accents all the time. So ignore me. Yeah, demographics is a little easier to say. Most of us don't go beyond demographics when we define our ideal client profile. We can talk about their job function, we can talk about their industry, we can talk about their title, but we often don't venture beyond that. That's not enough. We want to actually really notice them. So psychographics are really important. What are they thinking? What are their influences? What are their worries, their wants, their needs, their hopes? This allows us to have way more clarity into what they really care about, what conversations are going on in their minds. We ultimately want to get to the point where, as opposed to trying to convince people, many business professionals mistakenly think marketing is about convincing people. It's not. We want to enter the conversation that's already going on in their minds and walk alongside them, show them where we agree with them. To influence someone, you actually want to show where you have agreement first so they can let the walls down. And then you slowly shift some of the perceptions they have that might be inaccurate or different from yours, right? All right, so noticing your ICP goes beyond demographics. I want you to really internalize that. And I'm going to push you now. I want you to put this into action. Get it out of your head. It's so easy to have a definition in our heads, but until we write it down, until we say it out loud, it's not challenged. So I want you to put that down. Define your ICP beyond demographics. Okay, cool. You guys got that. Step 2 is the letter U for understand. So step 1 was notice. Step 2 was understand. Understand their pain. I want you to actually now start digging into their fears, their frustrations, their insecurities. Everyone has these. everyone, even your existing customers, because you are not solving every single problem, not even just in their lives, even within the sphere of your influence, within the sphere of your product's influence. You're not solving all their problems. So our audience still has things that keep them up at night, things that they're afraid of, that they worry about. I think even less so than being afraid of, because that seems so black and white. I like the term frustration or worry. What gives them anxiety, right? It's like this sort of low, latent, in the background, but constant buzzing, that, things that bother them, things that when things are quiet, those problems sort of bubble up. Well, how would you know that stuff if you're not in conversation with them? Marketers, we really struggle in this area. And listen, it's often not our fault. A lot of companies actually they're not comfortable with their marketing teams talking to customers directly. That might be you. We had a phenomenal discussion in Bingeworthy emails with Casey Hill, Adam Tuttle, both of Active Campaign, Romu, Gaboria, Yawa, Degboe, some of the other students in Bingeworthy emails. And we talked about this issue. How can you actually viscerally understand their pain if you don't have access to talk to the customer directly? And let me tell you, some of the ideas that came out were brilliant. Are you using Gong or Chorus to listen to sales calls? A lot of us have heard of this already. That's not earth-shattering. But the idea of actually using AI, like ChatGPT, for example, to analyze the transcripts from those calls, that is groundbreaking. That is earth-shattering. I remember being on a job a couple of years ago. My first 30 days, I was binge listening to these sales calls, and I was taking copious notes, and I was analyzing, I was summarizing, I was looking for trends, I was finding keywords. Sometimes it's difficult when you're listening to calls that you're not a part of, because you can't ask those follow-up questions. So this is one of the areas where I think AI can really help. It can help you go through really large volumes of data, unstructured data, and it can give that data a structure for you. So this is something that I really would love for you guys to all try. See if you can export the transcripts of sales calls from the past maybe 1 year. You could categorize those sales calls. They could either be closed won calls, closed lost calls, or anything in the middle. And look for trends. Ask ChatGPT for trends. So this will go a long way to understanding their pain. I will say there are other old school ways that you can use to do this. One of the ways that I like the best is actually creating a system where you have ongoing conversations with your audience. And when I say audience, that could include prospects, future buyers, current customers, and so on. They're all ideal customer. They all fit the ICP. They're all ideal customer profiles, but they're not necessarily existing customers, right? There's a lot of insights you can get from people who haven't bought from you and who maybe might never even buy from you, but they're still ICPs. All right, so we want to understand their pain. I love to do this in the form of things like a podcast. Now, a lot of you are saying, hey, I tried to get approval for a podcast. Upper management, they think it's a waste of time, a waste of resources. They want to prove it. Okay, cool. I empathize. I've also been there at 2 different companies. I wrote up, a very detailed, well thought out pitch for creating a podcast. And one of the companies actually got to launch the podcast. It was shut down after 12 episodes. Because obviously, a podcast is not a short-term pipeline generator. It's a long-term brand awareness and brand affinity generator. And it's an insight generator as well. If they don't let you create a podcast, that's cool. What about a periodic, either maybe monthly, let's say monthly. What about a monthly roundtable where you're bringing people on? Maybe you have a subject matter expert in the room with you. This could be a Zoom. Will cost you virtually nothing, and you're answering questions. It could be an Ask Me Anything. It could be Q&A. It could be you come up with a theme, right? Considering you already know their fears, frustrations, and insecurities, come up with a theme, something that really bothers them, and then you go deep on that theme for that 1 hour every month. People love this stuff because, again, it's unstructured, okay? So this is not a survey. I don't want you to do a survey unless you are actually trained in doing surveys and you have a large enough sample size. I don't think you need to be investing in that right now. I think you can get a lot more insight through actual conversations. So talking to your audience directly would be my number one suggestion. If you can't do that, listening to sales calls would be number two. All right, you guys get that. So we've noticed our ICP in detail, going beyond demographics. We have gone deep in understanding their pain. Now, step three in the nurture process is the letter R, reverse engineer a solution. Reverse engineer a solution. So what are we trying to do here? This is where we want to define the steps. So it's almost like we're trying to get them across a river, right? They're at point A. What they need is across the river at point B. And we want to figure out what the stepping stones are. So considering that we know where they're trying to end up, in your case, considering that you've taken one of the big frustrations of your audience and you said, I want to take them from frustration to peace of mind. I want to take them from frustration to satisfaction. We now know what the end destination is. How do we reverse engineer that? And I want to point out that, or emphasize, we're not using our product to solve this for them. But we are solving it for them. So the solution might be something that's maybe a bit more manual than what our product would do. If, let's say, if we're selling software, typically software will make a process more automated, more efficient. So we might be solving it for them the manual way, but we're still solving it for them. How well can you actually reverse engineer a solution that builds trust, gives them that small win, free of charge? You're like, I hope this works for you. Good luck. It's worked for me and for a lot of other people in our audience. I think it's going to do well for you. And you walk away. The fact that you're able to do that communicates a lot of confidence in your abilities. It communicates a lot of confidence in the fact that you believe they will come back because of the value that you've given to them. So we need to reverse engineer that solution. So you might spend some time here, but once you've kind of figured out how you're going to solve this problem for them, we want to tier our value, our content value. And we're solving this problem with content. By the way, typically we're solving this problem with content because, again, we're not giving away free software. We're not giving away free services that will take our time. Content is something that can solve a problem and it scales infinitely, right? But I want you to tier that content value. So in a previous module, we talked about the 7 levels of content value. Information alone is the lowest level. This is where a lot of marketers and a lot of brands sort of built their chops. And information is a necessary first pillar. But if you're stopping at information, let me tell you, ChatGPT has a bridge they want to sell you because they're going to eat your lunch. Google does information better than anyone other than ChatGPT, probably. So we need to go beyond just giving people information. They could get that information in many other places. Are we wrapping that information in entertainment and making it edutainment, right? My series, Demand Wars, is an example of that. It's a reality show featuring B2B marketers. It's funny, it's moving, it's educational, all at the same time. And there's many other ways to do edutainment as well. Are we giving them interaction? Something like a cohort-based workshop or a monthly Ask Me Anything mixer or networking group on Zoom? Are we giving them accountability, right? Having an accountability partner is a very, very valuable thing. Are we providing them that? There's different ways that you could actually tier the value. So it's up to you. You decide what assets and what resources you have available to solve that problem for them. We talked about this in a previous module again, so you could go back to watch that in detail. But that's the T in the nurture process. Tier your content value. All right. Now, the next one, this is very meta. Unpack your framework. Unpack your framework. So at this point, what we're doing, folks, is we're essentially giving them something that is step-by-step, paint by numbers, think formula, right? Why do we love formulas? Why do marketers love playbooks? It's because of the almost guarantee of a result. If you follow these steps, you will reach your destination. People love that. And you might think, they don't want to be spoon-fed. Let me tell you, a lot of us modern professionals, even just people living in a modern society, we're so overwhelmed with busyness. We are so overwhelmed. Anecdotally, My wife and I are very big on cooking meals as often as we can. We have two kids, they're teenagers. We're trying to model to them that don't just eat packaged stuff, don't just eat takeout, all the time. You got to learn how to feed yourself. But modern life is so busy that more often than not, we are eating that packaged stuff. We are stopping at the local restaurant to pick something up because it's paint by numbers, it's step by step easy. It gives us a little bit of relief so we can spend time on other things. This is what we're doing when we're unpacking the framework. We're making it easy for them. So again, we'd like to ideally limit it to about 5 steps. You're going to end up coming up with an acronym. This is a really fun process. You're going to end up coming up with an acronym like I've done here with the word nurture that makes your solution not only uniquely yours, very important, but also memorable, right? It's memorable. No one else can use, other people can teach you how to come up with a nurture email sequence. No one is going to be able to use this framework, this formula that I've defined because I've made it uniquely mine, right? So unpacking your framework is actually deciding how many steps am I going to use to solve this problem? What are the steps? And then how can I finagle the words, the titles of each of those steps? How can I tweak and massage and adjust them to the point where they actually spell out a word that is relevant and memorable to my audience? All right. So this is a fun process. Put on your creative hats, folks. You'll enjoy this one. Okay. After you have unpacked your framework, the next step in the nurture process is recording your content. This is intuitive and self-explanatory. You are informing, you're teaching, educating, you're presenting, you're revealing. I like that word. You are revealing your solution, your framework, your formula. This might be, for example, this particular video is being recorded in Loom. I tend to record in a couple different applications. You might be using Google Slides, you might be in Zoom, GoToWebinar, Camtasia Studio, I don't know whatever it is that works for you. Let's record that content. Let's actually get that content created. It might not even be video based. It might be written. You might be writing stuff up. It could be infographics in Canva. A lot of these graphics you're looking at, I created in Canva. Whatever your medium is, find the medium that works for you. I'm not really a proponent of saying this medium or that medium is the best. What's best is what you are able to confidently work through, and also what your audience enjoys consuming, right? So you want to find the overlap there. All right, so get that content recorded. And then finally, the last step in the nurture framework is engineering your automation. I want you to engineer your automation. A lot of folks, a lot of marketers, when they think about nurture sequences, they start here. And I wanted to emphasize this because it's not all about jumping into ActiveCampaign or what, your email service provider of choice. It's not about jumping in there, building the automation, and then voila. There's so much marketing that happens before that. There is so much marketing. Now, the automation is a necessary step. It helps you automate. It helps you scale. It helps you track what you're doing. It makes everything systematized, right? It takes you from one to one-to-many. So the automation is a key part. It just happens to be the last part. So this is where you're building your sequences. You're working on your subject lines, your hooks. You're concerned about deliverability and sender scores. You're working in the visual automation builder. You're creating landing pages. You're tracking open rates, thinking about things like predictive sending. What time of day should I send? What days should I send? How frequently should I send these emails? We have best practices and recommendations for all this stuff. Again, this is not cookie cutter. Sometimes you actually just want to experiment and see what works for your audience. But we have opinions on all of these that we can certainly share. Whom should I send the emails from? Should they be from marketing at mycompany.com? Should they be from me personally at mycompany.com? Should they be from the CEO at mycompany.com? These are great questions to ask, right? And we can discuss those. We actually go deep into those when we have the live Bingeworthy email workshop sessions. So I'm going to end this video here. I just wanted to outline the nurture framework for you. You can go back, step through this step by step. You don't get the results, folks, unless you actually put this stuff into action. And in the next video, you'll actually see Casey Hill, Adam Tuttle, Romo Gaboriao, Yawa Degboe, myself talking through some of this stuff in great detail. Ooh, you're going to love it. It's good stuff. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for being a binge-worthy marketer. Bye for now.